Hey everyone, Katie here. I just wanted to pop in really quick and fill you in on a couple of things that didn't quite make it into this first episode. First, I want to thank my wonderful niece, Madison Hinnebrey, for writing the music and performing our podcast theme song for us. It wasn't done when we recorded the first few episodes, so I neglected to mention her, but thank you so much. She is awesome for doing it. There are a few audio issues with these first probably 4 episodes, but I wanted to let y'all know that we're well aware of them and they're being worked through, and this is just going to keep getting better and better as time goes by. So I hope you stick with us. And I also want to make sure that you check out our blog after the show for information about our podcast launch celebration contest, because you can win some cool shit, yo. Okay, here goes.
Unicorns and glitter and taxidermy critters are just some of the things they like. They also enjoy 80s hair bands, Grizzly Adams and John Goodman, so if you think that's weird then you can take a hike. But the things they enjoy the most are making art and cracking jokes, so without further ado, here are your hosts. You've got your 2 artsy gals, your 2 artsy gals. Here are your 2 artsy gals.
Hi, and welcome to the very first 2 Artsy Gals podcast. I'm Katie, and this is my co-host, Sharon.
Hi, I'm Sharon.
And we're just going to kind of wing it here because we just want this to be a conversation like we always have, talking about art and stuff that we love, and particularly mixed media art. I guess our vision for the podcast is to just have fun with each other, talking once a week and sharing all of the stuff we know and doing research and answering questions for you, our listeners, and maybe hopefully learning stuff from you too. What do you think, Sharon? Do you have anything that you specifically want to have happen?
No, I think just chatting away about our mixed media, just like we do on the phone all the time anyways. Would love to learn some from the audience. Any feedback from the audience?
Definitely, and that is, we'll get to that at the end of the show for sure and give you guys all of our contact information because ideally, once we get going, we're going to have a listener mail section at the end of every podcast. So you guys can ask questions or give comments if they're nice. If they're not nice, I'm not going to fucking read them because I don't want any non-niceness. So,
but just going to hit the delete button on those.
Yeah. And I might say something rude back if I'm in the mood. So, but you know, if you guys have a request for any topics that you want us to talk about in this podcast, pretty much because it's a mixed media podcast and because Sharon and I have, between the two of us, a bajillion hobbies in addition to doing mixed media art and jewelry. And then we both do yarn arts. We both sew. So really no topic is off limits here. I don't know. I've kind of always been obsessed with, well, as you know, Sharon, I'm totally obsessed with podcasts. I've been listening to them forever. I have about 25 or 30 that I listen to. And it's been wearing on me for a few years. I've wanted to do this, and I just decided, what the heck? We'll move forward. And Sharon's awesome, and she's my buddy, and we have so much fun together. So I thought, Sharon's got to do this with me, because we have fun together. And we're kind of silly. And I'm a little bit silly, so...
And I'm a little bit silly.
So, and it's something that I don't want this ever to be serious or snooty, and I'm not like that. So...
No way.
You know, and Sharon's not like that, because I wouldn't hang out with her if she was. But, so I guess just, we're going to give a little bit about our backgrounds, and you can read, more about us and our bios on the 2 Artsy Gals, blog page, which is 2 Artsy Gals at, oh my god, what page? Oh, WordPress. Oh my god, I just totally forgot where we were. It's, that address is, 2artsygals.wordpress.com. So you can go there and read more about us. But, Sharon, do you want to give a little bit of your background? Because I'm doing all the freaking talking right now. I get chitty chatty. So,
so I've done arts and crafts my whole life. I started out doing, well, when I was in junior high, I really got into making jewelry and selling beaded jewelry. I did that in college as well. I always sewed, and when I was little, I loved to do paper arts too. So I'd cut out little paper dolls and little paper animals and make little houses, and my friend and I would create little villages and things. And then I got more into doing sewing. Oh, and I sewed little outfits for my hamsters when I was a kid.
That's my favorite thing ever.
They really liked that. Little disco hamsters.
I'm sure they loved that. Yeah.
They did. They really liked it. They let me know by biting me on the ear.
Oh, well, that's how they show affection.
Yeah, right. And then I got, and I continued in college really enjoying making jewelry. And then, later in college, I went to college on and off. And then later in college, I really got into ceramic arts. And, so I did that for a long time until I had kids, because it's a little hard to be throwing clay on the wheel and then get up with sloppy hands full of clay and go deal with children.
Make a mud baby.
Mud baby. So I stepped away from the ceramics for a while. Well, I haven't been really back to it since having kids, but, and then I went back to doing jewelry and mixed media, doing paintings. But I feel like I was able to incorporate a lot of my, the skills that I had in ceramics, because I felt like the pieces I was making in ceramic were really organic, really feminine. I brought a lot of things from nature into them, using texture. And so I was able to carry that over into my jewelry, because my jewelry is really textured, and I use different paints and hammering them and texturing them and different beads and lots of different things to add to my jewelry. And I feel like with my mixed media paintings, I do that too, adding fabric or paper, typed words, scratching things into them, finding things in nature, leaves, things like that. So I feel like it carries over. So even though I was sad to leave ceramics or put it aside for a while, I feel like I was still able to get that through the things that I'm doing now. And I've been experimenting a little bit with the silver clay. So it's a clay that you can form, and then you put it in the kiln, and it turns to a pure silver. And they have it in copper and gold. I think there's some other ones.
I think
too.
We'll have to have you because you told me about that before, and I'm really curious about it. We'll have to maybe do an episode on clays or something like that, and have you do a demo video for the blog for that, because that's really intriguing. I kind of want to. You've talked about it a bit, and so I'd like to see it. I don't have a kiln though, so I haven't used it. But
yeah, it's really interesting because it's really different than working with like porcelain or any other kind of clay, because it's really sticky, and you're working so small, which I like to work small. But
I like working tiny
really
too.
Small. But it's pretty cool stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that you can do with it. You can end up soldering it to things, so, which is really fun I make these little window.
Oh, so it's a clay that you can solder after it's cured?
Yeah,
or after
it turns to a pure silver.
Oh, see, now I'm writing that down right now so I can put that in our next batch of episodes.
Yeah.
So.
I haven't tried that yet, though. I mean, I haven't tried it yet, but, I'm just getting started with that. So I guess that's where I'm at now is as far as my artwork. And then of course on the side, I love to knit, as well. So those are kind of where I'm at right now for my art.
Well, I guess really with my art, and I think all artists can say that they've always, all their lives, have been artistic and done art. And I think it's funny, I never really thought of it as art when I was a little kid, and I know that my mother absolutely did not think of it as art, but I was constantly, taking shit apart. Always. I would take stuff apart, perfectly good things too, not just broken stuff. Or I would, air quote, break, or found them broken, I should say. But I would take stuff apart, like clocks and radios, and then like put it all back together and make animals out of it and stuff, or glue springs together. And like, it kind of started as a curiosity about what makes this thing work. And then I was like, whoa, this stuff in here is really awesome. It should totally be a dinosaur. Let's put it together like that. So,
yeah.
But when I got older and into high school, I started doing more drawing, more traditional drawing and painting, and, a lot of collage work and stuff like that. And really, I kept it as a hobby on the side because, as you know, I worked in the medical industry before. Like, I had my son, and then I went to work in the medical field, and I did that for a long time. And when you have kids, little kids especially, as you are wrestling with now in your life, it's hard to make time to do anything that's, like, involved in any way. Mm-hmm. So, but now my son's 18, and giving me a case of empty nest syndrome and all kinds of other rageful, spiteful, angry feelings too. So, because you know what, teenagers are kind of jerks. So, I love my son. Don't get me wrong, but I have clearly plenty of time for doing art now. And I went to graphic design school. I just graduated last June. And over the 4 years of design school, I could definitely see a huge change in my art because I had never really taken those fundamental art classes on a college level. Of course, you take them in high school, but it's a little bit different than college level classes. And I still do mixed media, and I always will. And I still do a lot of, collage, and I do a lot of assemblage and sculpting, and there's always painting and drawing. And I really prefer, mostly because of copyright issues and stuff, but also because I like my work to be original and fresh. When I do collage work, I like to do my own artwork that I'm collaging into it a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. So, and that is something that progressed through design school. And I can, I think just my biggest lessons were in perspective and kind of learning how to give things the depth and texture and feel that in my head they had, mm-hmm. but I couldn't always translate that onto paper, and I still can't always do that. But, I've definitely really lately kind of gone more towards, I'm experimenting a lot with altered books. Mm-hmm. And right now, I don't know if you saw pictures the other day, but I've been hollowing out, books to do assemblages inside of them.
Oh, I saw that. That's so cool.
Can I just tell you, the right tool makes all the difference in the world. Do not use a little dainty X-Acto knife to cut the center out of a book. You need a big utility knife. So
I can imagine. Do you think that that you started making a lot of those books because you started getting into your writing so much that you think that they...
Partly yes, and partly because I actually, through Facebook and social media, have met over the years a lot of different artists, and I belong to a couple different art groups. And one of them has quite a few women in it who do a lot of work with altered books. And so mm-hmm. I think it was, at first I was kind of, I'm always fearful of doing work similar to something that someone else does, or like, I don't want to be accused of copying, I guess is what it mm-hmm. is. So when I'm in a group and I'm doing stuff in a group, I always try to be really mindful of figuring out how I can do the technique that I'm learning in a way that makes it mine. So I'm not copying someone. And I think I was really hesitant over the first couple of years that I started branching out in the World Wide Web and meeting other artists. I was pretty quiet and hesitant. I didn't want to experiment, but I think that it's my love of reading in books and literature anyway that has driven me, more than my writing, that has driven me towards experimenting with books and stuff. And I'm actually really excited about the series that I'm going to start pretty soon, but I don't want to say too much about it because it's not going yet. But it's inspired by Grimm's fairy tales.
Oh, cool.
The original in their real scary, don't read these to your kids form, because those are some scary freaking stories if you read the original ones. And when I was a little girl, I checked out a book from the library that was the Grimm's fairy tales, and I thought, oh, Red Riding Hood, this is awesome. But it was a compilation of the original Grimm's Fairy Tales, and I gave myself the worst nightmares, but I've been obsessed with them. And the Hans Christian Andersen stories too, because they're a little bit darker than the Disneyfied versions as well. I don't think they're quite as dark as Grimm's Fairy Tales. But anyway, the series that I'm working on pretty soon is inspired by Grimm's Fairy Tales. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I think it's really hard as mixed media any artist when you feel like you could be copying somebody, or is this an original idea? I think that we get inspiration though from, seeing other people's ideas. I feel like I really struggle with that too. And when you were saying that you like to use your original artwork, in your collage work, I struggle with that because sometimes, I just find, sometimes I use my own photographs, but sometimes I see an image that I like and it's not mine, and I'll use it. It's hard, and, to feel like you're not copying. And I don't know, I think it's a really fine line. I think it's really hard.
It is a fine line, and it's hard. And I've actually been copied before. Mm-hmm. And it was so crazy. I couldn't believe this woman was doing it. It was in school. And it was in a drawing class, like a fundamental drawing class. And not only was she copying my essays that I was writing and my in-class, like my critiques on other students. I'm not talking just like taking an idea and going, oh, I'm going to say kind of what she said. I'm talking copying and pasting verbatim what I said into her own comments. I actually emailed my professor, and my professor called me and personally apologized that she didn't catch it. But she eventually ended up, I think, getting kicked out of the class or dropping the class because she was also taking she took my drawings and posted them as her own in class. And I don't even understand why she thought she was going to be able to do that. Because
you were in the same class.
We're in the same class. So it was shocking to me. I was really upset by it. And that was just in a classroom setting, and it was an obvious, like, hey, this woman is crazy. And because she did it to other students too, not just me. So, but even that made me feel so like, I can't even think of the word for it, but it was just really offensive. It was very upsetting. It was violating. That's the word I was looking for. I just felt so violated that she had done that. And so I'm super mindful of not ever wanting anyone, even accidentally, because sometimes when we really admire like another person's work, you catch yourself kind of emulating it in your own work.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I feel like I see a lot of people do that with Kelly Ray Roberts, like her collage stuff. And I think, people are just inspired by her, but I think, you see it. And I think me personally, I have to be really careful when I'm looking at people's work or just doing research to be careful and mindful about that of like, okay, I'm not trying to copy this person's work. And it maybe is because I'm just like, wow, I really am inspired by their work. But, so sometimes it's almost like, okay, don't look at anything.
I get into phases where I try not to, I don't do that. I'm like, I can't look at anyone's work right now. Mm-hmm. I think especially if I'm in a rut where I'm feeling really like just, I don't have any inspiration. I don't have a project going and I'm feeling kind of restless. I really have to just check myself and not look at other people's work. So,
yeah, it's challenging.
It is. But yeah, and actually in the future here, not too far away, I would like to do, speaking of that, I want to do, a podcast episode about copyright. Just because I think not only in terms of protecting your own work, but also like we're talking in terms of not accidentally committing copyright infringement.
Right.
And like how to protect your own, like protect yourself as you're doing work out there. So,
right.
And I actually do have plans for that, that episode, I think. And I have a friend who I might interview about that because she knows quite a bit about it too. But yeah, I want to do that because those are all things that, like, and that's one thing I want to mention about the podcast too, is that it's not just going to be about art. Like, I think this episode is just a getting to know Sharon and I situation and just kind of set the tone for what we're doing. And next week, or the next episode, we're going to be talking about what exactly mixed media is. But there'll be sometimes there are going to be episodes where we give examples, little tutorials, and we'll post all the corresponding pictures on our blog. So you can go there to see that and see what we're talking about. But we'll also spend time talking about stuff like copyright or, anything else that comes up. And again, we only have between the two of us so many ideas. So I really would urge anyone who listens to us to send us more requests immediately so that we can start planning future episodes. I mean, I have about 10 ideas floating around, and we have the first 4 or 5 episodes planned pretty solidly. But after that, we're like, I don't know. What should we do? So there's always something to talk about, though. And again, there are going to be several, at the end of the podcast, we'll give you all of our contact information, because there are several ways to contact us, to let us know what you think. Again, if it's nice. If it's not nice, just don't listen and shutty. So, because I get my feelings hurt easy. But
it's a tender flower.
I am, kinda. I am more delicate than people think I am. Really. I get hurt feelers. But, so one thing that I thought would be kind of fun that we were going to talk a little bit about are, just to kind of get things going for us, are what is an unconventional tool or product that you like to use either in your artwork or in the process of creating your artwork?
Okay. Well, I feel like there's a few things that I end up using. I use to apply paste, or like a fiber paste. I'll use an old credit card or an old CD to wipe things or to scrape things off when I'm doing...
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, it's like you'll have like a used gift card. There's no more, no more money on it or whatever, or an old credit card, or a cut in half disc, CD disc, works really well, but you can scrape stuff with it really well. If you like apply paint, but, that's just a little bit too much. So you just scrape it off, or you get a good texture from that, or, so I like to use that a lot.
Awesome. One of my, and I don't even remember why I think I just went and grabbed one from the kitchen one day. I use bamboo skewers, and I buy them specifically for my studio now to have in here, because I use them for everything. When I make my journals, I am always using the little skewer to keep the holes clear as I do the texture and painting and stuff on the covers. But I use them for anything from like applying delicate little beads to stuff, or moving things, or I sometimes use them to set stuff up off of the surface I'm working on, so they'll dry without sticking to it. It just, I use them for everything. Scratching texture into something, or they're so handy, and I can't live without them now. And I have actually progressed to chopsticks. I save when we go out to eat, and I am totally embarrassed by this, but I have started stealing those little coffee stir sticks, the little wooden things from coffee shops when I go in. Like the one
you take like 10 instead of 1.
I do. I stick them in my pocket and I look around like, oh my god. I should probably not do that, because I don't know. Now here I've confessed to a crime already. It's only our first episode. But, but I never want to get caught doing that. That's funny though. I just reminded myself of something else that I use that's not really a conventional tool, but I do a lot of work with epoxy resin clay. And that stuff, it air dries really pretty quickly. So you can't, if you've mixed too much of it, you can't reuse it. Mm-hmm. So, but also if you don't mix enough of it, sometimes if you don't work fast enough, especially if it's really hot, it doesn't mix together well with what you've already used. Uh-huh. So if I have a little bit extra, I make little eggs, or sometimes I make just little stupid squares and set them out and dry them. And then I use those to set stuff on when I'm letting them dry, so they don't touch other surfaces, anything that I paint, because I'm lazy. Well, I'm not lazy. I just like to be efficient. So sometimes when I'm painting, like my journal covers especially, I'll paint the front side and then you have to paint the edges on the back side. But I don't want to wait for the front side to dry to paint the edges on the back side because I'm in a hurry. Because usually when I'm making journals, I'm making them for my Etsy shop and I'm kind of doing a conveyor mode situation. Mm-hmm. So I just set those little blocks, little squares that I've made with the epoxy resin clay on the table and then balance the covers on top. So nothing wet is touching anything else. And they just set up and dry. And I have a little jar full of them that I just use for weird stuff like that, or spacers or anything like that. But
Well, that's a great idea.
You said you thought, what else do you use? Because you said you thought you also had other ideas.
I sometimes use just like, I have little pieces of wire that I end up clipping off when I'm making my jewelry. So I'll use those for a lot of things, for clearing like glue bottles or like any of the glue, the patinas that I use that are in bottles, and I use those too just to like maybe get something stuck onto it, just to apply it to, a bead to something, or maybe I need to just get a little bit of patina paint off of my jewelry, or clearing a hole. I'll use those little bits of wire. I'm trying to think of other things that I use that are kind of unconventional.
I don't know. I'm always using something weird for something that I'm not supposed to be using it for. My husband walks by my studio often and it's like, what in the hell are you doing in there? I'm like, you don't need to know. Just go.
I know another thing that I use. Bubble wrap. I'll paint bubble wrap and then use that as a texture on my paintings.
I like to do that too. I have a little piece of bubble wrap that I've saved that's just gross from that kind of stuff. So
yeah. If you get a package or whatever, now I've got tons and tons of bubble wrap because I'm mailing out stuff and I need a lot of it.
Yeah,
so.
I know mail supplies get expensive. But,
yeah.
But are you doing a lot of jewelry from where you're at now and mailing it out, or?
No, I'm actually mailing out fertile eggs.
Woohoo! Sharon's a chicken farmer. She's awesome. She's my chicken farming hero. So actually, this is kind of funny. I was going to talk a little bit about our friendship and how we met, but I've been friends of Sharon's husband's family for about 20 years. I don't know, a long time. But Sharon's husband's grandmother used to sell my family eggs, chicken eggs, when I was a really little girl and we lived in the area that Sharon recently moved to. And I didn't know it for years and years and years until I met Sharon's sister-in-law, Gretchen. And one day it just kind of fell together and I mentioned something to my mom. I'm like, hey, they used to live there too. And then we figured out that we used to buy eggs from them. And now Sharon's the egg farmer. She moved and took over the family farm up there. And I actually got kind of weepy about it because now she's my chicken farmer. It's just so weird how everything is kind of, that's obviously how I met Sharon is through her husband and his family. So, and then we've worked together. We used to work together because we're awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, everything, it's a small world. It's all the connections. It's pretty cool.
It is. It's pretty neat. And Sharon and I just ended up, I think, from the moment we met, I think we just hit it off.
Yeah.
So, and clicked pretty well. I think because we're both pretty silly people and we like laughing at goofy stuff. So, and again, we're gonna get close to wrapping stuff up here pretty soon. But I think that's another thing that you should know is we're rarely serious. So we're gonna be goofy and silly. If you don't like laughing, don't listen to our podcast because we like to laugh a lot. So, and we laugh at each other a lot because we're goofs. But, and again, at the end of each podcast, which will be kind of in this segment here as we're getting close to wrapping things up, we're going to have a segment where I'll read listener emails or maybe Facebook messages or something from people, and then we'll answer questions or comment on what you guys have had to say. And then we'll, give our information, our contact information again. And I should say we're going to try to keep these at about a half an hour. I don't want to go too long. I don't want to go too short, but I also don't want to sit and watch the clock like I'm watching it right now because it's getting distracting. I'm like, oh, we're getting close. But so I just want to say I'm super excited to be doing this with Sharon, and thank you for doing it with me. I'm so happy.
Super excited too.
I can't imagine doing this with someone else because it just we're buddies, so I don't know. but we're very similar though. We have a lot in common personality wise. So
yeah, we do.
We
really like glitter. I think that's really what's bonded us.
Did I tell you that I grounded myself from glitter recently?
That you what?
I grounded myself from glitter. I did. It's gotten out of control. It was the, for the mail art group that I host. It's the one with I don't think you saw it, the envelope for the green mail, altered envelope for the mail art group. I used like 3 different colors of green glitter because I was like, oh, I have lots of green glitter. Cause that thing that I sent your son, the little packet of glitter, I have that too. So, but my whole office, like I came to bed, my bed has glitter in it. And I had to vacuum, and my son came in here and asked me a question and left and then came back in and he goes, oh, I knew I shouldn't have walked into your office. He was covered in it. And this sounds really, really disgusting, but I'm just going to tell you that when I got undressed to get in the shower the night that I finished that envelope, I had glitter inside the crotch of my underpants. On the inside. I don't know how that happened.
It is the herpes of the craft world.
It totally is. So I've grounded myself for a little while because I'm going to have to change the paper and the tape on my desk because it's stuck in the glue the glue of the tape that I use when I tape down my blotter, and everything that I'm doing now, I noticed green glitter in one of the books that I was cutting. So
I'm
going to put an end to that shit.
You could do glitter glue
just
to hold you over.
It's not as shiny.
But maybe just to hold you over.
I don't know. You know me. I'm an all or nothing kind of gal. So
I do love the glitter glue too.
Glitter glue is a gateway drug to
loose glitter.
To loose glitter, and the fine fairy dust glitter that I really makes my heart sing. I love.
Yeah, that's like that's like I don't know, the Mecca, the Holy Grail. It's like you start out.
It's like you see it and it goes, oh.
It kind of sings a little bit.
It does. My husband's ex-girlfriend once said, she saw me and saw that when I was younger, in my earlier 30s, I had glitter on. We were going out at night and I didn't see her, but she told a mutual friend of ours that, I was, what does she call it? She called glitter raver scabies. Oh. That really fine glitter like that. And she said I was covered in raver scabies. And I'm like, what are raver scabies? I don't have those. What are you talking about? And I'm like, that was pretty crappy of her to tell me, by the way, now that I'm thinking about it. But
she just didn't understand.
No.
Maybe she hadn't experienced glitter as you and I have.
I don't know. I don't know who could just like glitter, but on that glittery note, we're getting close to the end here, and I want to make sure that everybody knows how to get a hold of us. So, you can message us, at our email address, which is 2artsygals@gmail.com. And, there we go. 2artsygals@gmail.com. And that's all spelled out, all one word, all lowercase. So, and it's 2, TWO. And you can also find us on Facebook. We have a fan page. It's 2 Artsy Gals. And of course, our blog site again is 2artsygals.wordpress.com. I'll get that figured out pretty soon. And we're also on Twitter at 2artsygals, but I have to warn you, I suck at Twitter, so I don't know if Sharon.
Twitter? We tweet?
We
I
tweet.
didn't even know we tweet.
Well, we haven't tweeted anything yet, but I'm going to set up our Twitter account to tweet every time we have a new blog post. So if y'all want to follow that, and then it'll just tweet you and say, hey, we have a new blog post, which also means that a new episode will be up, because I'm going to get all fancy pants and try to figure out how to run the RSS feed for our podcast through the blog. It's making my head spin. And someone who knows how to do this is probably laughing at me right now, but I'm new to all this crap. So, but anyway, thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you come back, and I hope we're interesting enough for you. And thank you, Sharon, for doing this with me.
Hey, thank you, Katie.
Woohoo! Until next time, see you later. Go make something awesome.
Peace.